So, got some exciting news to share. We're getting kicked out of our apartment. Yeah. Right now it is 3:47 a.m. I went to bed at almost midnight. I couldn't get much sleep, and I haven't been able to sleep well. We just found out yesterday, close to 4 p.m. And yeah, we found out through an email, an automated email that I received to my inbox. And I'll kind of, I feel like I'm gonna be ranting kind of back and forth. I'm looking for the email right now. I cried a lot yesterday. It sucks, you know? It sucks. Looking for a notice of non-renewal. That came yesterday at, that came yesterday at 3:07 p.m. So yeah, we're getting kicked out of our apartment that we've been living in for over 3 years. 3 years. And I've been faithful tenants, and I've always made sure to pay our rent on time. We keep to ourselves. We're not rambunctious people. We're just trying to live our lives like everyone else. But I'll give you kind of a backstory. I guess this is in some ways part story time and part lesson sharing. There's some cautionary tales I want to share with all of you. But I was working as a city planner for a small town, and I say small town, under 45,000 people. And around that time, when I first got hired, I was living 30 minutes away, a couple cities away, so I would commute day in and day out to work, and I have driving anxiety. And around that time I was moving in with my now husband, and who also lived in the same city that I was living in at the time, but just slightly closer to work. And it just got to the point, long story short, that my job at the time was getting a lot more intensive, and it just made more sense for me to live closer to work. And that would also at least help subside some of the issues I had with anxiety with driving. I can't be on the road. There's a lot of anxiety, especially being in city planning. You see a lot of crash reports, and there's just a lot of stupid drivers in Florida. That's the only hint I'll give you about where I live, is Florida. So long story short, my now husband, was okay with the fact that we could move to the town where I worked. So we happened to be looking for both houses and apartments to rent. It's just us. It was just him and I, no kids or anything. And mind you, I worked at a city hall, and city halls are in downtown. So with that being said, we were definitely looking for housing within either the downtown area or sorry, my cat is going crazy. But we were looking for apartments that were located within either that downtown area or somewhere like within that urban core. And I'm not gonna say like I was rich, but whatever. And we found this very, very cute apartment building that was in the heart of downtown, and the rent for a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom was $975 a month for 950 square feet. And to me, I was just like, holy crap, that's pretty much a steal for a downtown apartment, a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom downtown apartment. Mind you, this is not like a major metropolis. So I thought it was very cute. Literally, it was just within this very cute walkable area by shops, you know, like coffee shops and little restaurants and boutiques, and a 3-block walk to my job at City Hall at the time. And, you know, my husband, he was going to be commuting a little bit further, but he was okay, at least for my mental health, knowing that I would be living closer to work and not having to deal with anxiety attacks. But anyway, we both looked at the apartment together. We both really liked it, and I remember we got a tour of it, and one of the things that I loved about the apartment were the windows. Like, there was just really nice lighting, and I just remember we looked at each other, we were like, yeah, this is gonna be the apartment. And the person showing us the apartment she kind of winked at us, I remember that, and she was just like, if you guys like this, you need to sign up, you need to apply like right now. And we were like, and then she like kind of winked, and I thought, okay. So I think it was that day, or at least the day after, I think it was that day, we applied for the apartment. You know, we put our information, we both have good credit, we both have good jobs. And shortly after, we got an email, because we were also in touch with the landlord at the time, the property management company, just asking them a lot of questions. So I also told them, like, as we were applying, that I was a city planner, I worked for the city that I was part of, and I was also very active in the community. So I was basically begging them for us to move into this very adorable historic apartment building with shops underneath. And shortly after, we got notice that our application got approved. So I think we applied on a December in 2018. No, I'm sorry, 2017. We applied December 2017, and were able to move in February 2018, and we signed a 1-year lease. And we were like, this is great. So things were going well. I mean, we were living this nice kind of comfortable life in our little downtown apartment, and move forward maybe a year and a half later, there was a different property management company. We all got the email just alerting us of this different property management company. Like, okay, and we're like, okay, you know, as long as things aren't too crazy or don't change too much. And things start to change. Both within our apartment and around the context of our building. So mind you, we live in a downtown, and it wasn't a bustling metropolis. This was a downtown with a lot of vacant storefronts, but you could definitely see some signs of gentrification happening. So there was a what was once an antique shop right across the street from the apartment building, now getting bought out by it was getting bought out, and that was getting converted to part apartment building and part tap room in the front. And don't get me wrong, that's really awesome. I think that's great. We love drinking craft beer, and we just thought, okay, well, that's a cool amenity. But I kept thinking in the back of my head, especially with my studies in grad school and the work I did in urban planning, like, man, if this tap room opens and some other things, it's gonna be a matter of time before our rent starts to go up, because that's usually the tale that things are, you know, once you start to see progress, as in more small businesses and more shops and more activity happening within a downtown or urban core, you start to see urban revitalization happening. But one of the things that happens as a result, long story short, is that property values oftentimes will start to go up as you start to see more business activity coming in. So I would say within not even like a year, we started to get more alerts that more small businesses were starting to pop up around the block where our apartment was, including more shops opening literally downstairs of our apartment building, because you had the apartments on the second floor where we lived and then commercial business on the bottom floor. Sorry, my alarm clock went off. And I was like, okay, well, this is great. But then in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, like, you know, one thing I learned in my master's program and in undergrad was these are some signs to see of gentrification. And regardless of how you feel about it, what we are now experiencing in real time is urban revitalization. What was once a semi-vacant building is now getting filled with different types of businesses. Across the street from us, several of the storefronts were empty, and now those are starting to get filled up. So I kept thinking in the back of my mind, and I would joke around with my husband like, hey, they're gonna increase our rent prices. And I should also add that what we started to notice over the course of time was that even though we lived in this very cute, historic downtown building, there were a number of problems. My walls in my bathroom were starting to bubble up. We had issues with termites, and then at one point we even had an issue with rodents. And we're not dirty or messy people, but a lot of shit started to happen, just like one little thing after another and after another. So yeah, we made complaints to our landlord like, hey, we have these issues in our apartment and they need to be fixed and they need to be addressed. And anytime we had an issue, I was always sure, either me or my husband were always sure to take pictures and document every single thing, especially to cover our asses. We would either send text messages or emails. So I still have a bunch of pictures of just different issues I found around the apartment that weren't even our fault. Things that was just showing decay of the state of this old building. Well, and I think I told you we have a new property management company. I will say that a couple months ago, I got a interesting phone call from one of the representatives of this new property management company, letting us know that they wanted to, their plan was to do renovations of each of the apartment units inside, because they were already starting to do renovations of the building from the outside. And that's something I noticed. I was like, okay, well, this is great. They're doing renovations from the outside of the building, but I'm still kind of suspicious. Like, at the very least, our rent is gonna go up. I don't know how much, but it's gonna go up. So I got this phone call from one of the representatives of the property management company, essentially our landlords, letting us know that they happen to own another apartment building 3 blocks down in downtown. And it was newly renovated. There was, like, I think cathedral ceilings, blah, 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 whatever. It was a smaller apartment in the sense of square footage, but more expensive. But they were offering for us to move into that apartment building. I think it was, they're gonna offer us some sort of like deduction of like $100 less per month. But even with that amount, it was still going to be more expensive than where we were currently living. And I kept thinking to myself, and I was talking to my husband, like, you know, I guess that's nice of them. And one thing they said in the conversation on the phone with us was that we've been such good tenants, we've been really great. So because of that, they wanted to give us the opportunity to move 3 blocks down, basically at a more expensive, smaller apartment. And I just remember telling her, like, thank you, but no thank you. We're pretty happy here. And I said this was a couple months ago, and she was just like, okay, well, just want to offer this to you. I'm like, okay. So they told us about what happened. They were giving us this great opportunity. And, you know, one thing that I noticed, I would say I just started to notice a few more flags. Like, of course, you know, things are starting to open up in our small downtown, in our small town. There's news of a bookstore. I guess they also offer wine, and there's going to be a mead place opening up, and that's cool. But one thing that I also noticed around the time that we were reached out to about this great opportunity to move into this new apartment, this newly renovated apartment building, was that I remember I was just walking, I think, out to check the mail or something. I don't remember. And I saw a notice of non-renewal taped on the outside of one of my fellow unit mates' doors. And I just remember seeing that notice of non-renewal, and I just kind of skimmed through it. I didn't mean to be nosy, but it basically said because they hadn't paid the lease, because their lease had ended so many years ago, they'd been on a month-to-month basis, they had to leave by the end of that month. And I was thinking to myself, shit, our lease officially ended, our 1-year lease ended on February of 2019, and we never got a new lease to sign. We've been essentially paying month to month. And I was thinking to myself, like, you know, like, time goes by, you just work, and the first thing I'm not actively thinking about is, you know, where's this new lease? When's it gonna come? Because as a tenant, I didn't think that that was my responsibility to reach out to my landlord for a new lease. Every experience I've had living in a new unit or in a new rental has been that every year we get a new lease to go out. Every year we get a lease renewal. We sign that and things are good. That's always how it's been. So I don't know, we were just paying month to month. They never mentioned it to us. They never mentioned a new lease renewal, and now here we are in 2020, and I saw that, and I just remember like freaking out, like, shit, we never got a new lease. We need to watch our asses. So I have it on record. I have it on record because these folks even told me the best way to contact them is not through email, but through text message. And so the same woman who I've been in touch with, I contacted her business cell phone asking her, hey, we just saw a notice about someone's non-lease renewal outside of their apartment door, and we just wanted to touch base about the fact that we never got a lease and we'd like one. And then moments later she called us, or I think I called her, because this was the beginning of COVID-19, and I'm just like freaking out, like, we never got a new lease to sign, we've been pretty good tenants, what's gonna happen? And she assured us, she told us, you know, don't worry about that apartment, they've been going through some stuff, you guys have nothing to worry about, do not worry. And this was all over the phone, and I was just like, I think my husband was there in the room with me, the bedroom, when I was having that phone call, and I was just like, okay, well, great, nothing to worry about. And mind you, we were already thinking that this was going to be our last year in this apartment anyway. Like, we're kind of outgrowing this space. We have a cat, and there's this other city next door that is a little bit bigger that we've been going to and spending more time in. We really just like the vibes of that city, so we've been spending a lot more time. And I jokingly just tell him, like, hey, it would be awesome to relocate and live in this other city, especially also that I'm no longer working in City Hall or as a city planner. I'm now self-employed and starting my own business. So there's really no reason for me to stay in this town anymore. But it was something that we were seriously considering anyway. But not for a year, you know, we want to stay here. So then, flash forward to yesterday, May 4th, 2020. I am here at this very location at the dining room table, and right now I'm looking at my laptop. I check my emails pretty often, and I got this lovely, lovely email with the subject line, notice of non-renewal, unit number with my last name. And I was just like, what? And that was at 3:07 p.m. I'm gonna go ahead and open it. Dear Mara, this letter is to notice to you that your current lease/rental agreement for the above described premises expired at midnight on January 31st, 2019. It will not be renewed, nor will you be given the opportunity to remain as a month-to-month resident. You're required to surrender the premises to landlord/agent by May 31st, 2020. And I told you, I got this email on May 4th, not even a fucking month's notice. Please return the premises to the same condition as you found it upon move-in. Normal wear and tear expected. You are required to return all keys when vacating the premises. You must make all arrangements to vacate the premises at our address on the day of May 31st, 2020. If you fail to turn in the keys and do not vacate on, we will have no alternative but to advise our attorney's office to proceed in regaining possession of your unit. So, got that lovely email. As soon as I got that, you know, I've been working from home for a long time. I teach English online. I'm actually about to get ready to teach some classes soon. I told my husband, who's also been working from home because of COVID-19, like, hey babe, please come here. You told me he was working. I was like, no, you need to come here now and read this. So we both read this email. We're livid. So we call the property management company. I'm not going to name them. And I'm like frazzled. I'm like, hey, you know, can I speak to the manager? I was very polite. And I just remember he cut me off saying, can you please get to the point? I'm really busy. I explained we got this notice of non-renewal. He's like, okay, what's your address? So I told him, and then we asked him, we're like, why? Why? We've been faithfully paying our rent. We've been here for over 3 years. Why are we getting kicked out? His rationale was that essentially what he said to us was on the phone, just very cold, no sympathy, no empathy. Well, as you see, there's been changes in the downtown area, and you may have noticed that we've been doing renovations on the exterior of the building, and we have been in the works to renovate your unit. So you've been on a month-to-month lease for a while, so we are no longer renewing that. So you guys are gonna have to go. Oh fuck. And what we said at the time, and we were just like, we don't want to pursue any legal action. And the minute we said we don't want to pursue any legal action, he just snapped at us. He yelled at us on the phone. He said, you have no grounds to pursue legal action. We have every right to end your month-to-month lease. I've been in this business for 29 years. And then he hung up on us. And you know, it sucked. I cried a lot. My finances have been a little rough. So when I saw that, especially I've recently begun my self-employment journey, which is one of the reasons I started this channel, and I might cry again. I panicked. We had essentially 3.5 weeks to find a new fucking place. So one thing I remember was I called this person I know who happens to be a realtor in the other town, which is 10 miles away, the town that we've been spending more time in, the one that I said that we've been considering moving to, and just explaining the situation. I'm in tears, like there's tears in my eyes, and I'm like telling him what happened. So he got right on it, and we were able to see a very nice apartment yesterday, a little bit more expensive than this one, but in a pretty safe location. So we just filled out the application for that. So I don't know what's gonna happen with that. Crossing my fingers that things go well, but just kind of going back to this particular case where we're at, I guess there's just a couple takeaways that I want to sum up with. Like, I guess, you know, first things first, you know, as someone who likes to advocate for issues of social inequalities and social justice matters, one thing that I've always been very passionate about is housing, affordable housing, and trying to combat the effects of gentrification, especially because my background, both academically and professionally, is within urban and city planning. Well, I'm going to say this much. You know, you hear about stories of people getting displaced or getting kicked out because of gentrification. I've heard about it. I've heard of, you know, a few friends that that's happened to, but it's never happened to me. So it's one thing that you can study this. And there's kind of a privilege in having the luxury to study this type of social inequality that happens to so many people all the time. But then there's something else when it actually happens to you. It happened to us and it's hit home. Mind you, we've been on a month-to-month basis for over a year and a half. And I understand that. So I think, first of all, just to kind of sum up the other point, is that gentrification, anyone can be impacted by gentrification. Even two of us professionals. I have a master's degree. My background is in city planning. I used to work for the city. My husband has a comfortable job in the mortgage processing industry. None of that matters. It doesn't matter. Anyone can get kicked out. So I guess just part 2 of this, I guess another lesson I'm learning, and just I guess a cautionary tale to pass on to other people, is that be very cautious when it comes to signing your lease for a rental, whether you're gonna rent an apartment like we did or a house. We started with signing off on a 1-year lease and we thought everything was okay, but then as we noticed that we were going on a month-to-month basis, and I'm like upset I couldn't do anything about it now, I can't change the past. When you see that they don't give you the option to sign another year lease and just keep you on a month-to-month basis, be on the lookout for another place to live, because at that point they can end that month-to-month anytime. And I don't know what state you live in. I live in the state of Florida. Every state is going to have their own policies and regulations regarding month-to-month leases. But yeah, they have a legal right to kick us out after this month. But the thing is, though, they were letting us know we don't even have 30 days. But whatever. So just keep an eye on that. Just be very diligent. If you see that type of notice, look for another fucking place, especially if you're living in an emerging area, a happening area, an area on the rise, a downtown, whatever. You start to see new fucking store shops opening, new renovations happening. There could very well be a sign that what's going to happen is, if you start to see renovations happening in your building or hear about stories of internal unit renovations, you will most likely be getting kicked out. But, you know, as pissed as I am and as much time as we don't have to look for a new place, I'm really hoping that things work out with this new apartment building that we just applied for. It's a year-to-year lease. They would allow our cat. It's a nice, decent area. It's a new city. I hope things work out. I really do with this new building. It's a new city, so in some ways it's an opportunity for both my husband and I to start fresh and start a new chapter. As I said, like, I hope things go well. I might do like a part 2 just to kind of give you all an update, but I guess the point is, like, gentrification is a real thing, and it happens to people all the time. People get displaced all the fucking time, and it sucks. It sucks. Housing is an absolute basic necessity. Food, water, clothing, and shelter. And when your shelter is unstable, that makes a lot of other things unstable. And I just want to acknowledge that when I spoke to my mom about this in tons of tears, she did remind me that we always have family that we can move in with. So if for some reason, you know, May 31st is near pushing and things don't work out with this new apartment building and they choose to have someone else, first of all, we're going to continue looking for a new place. And second of all, we'll just temporarily move in with family. It might be a little crowded. We might have to sleep on a couch or sleep in a room. Maybe stay with my mom, or I don't know, we'll figure something out. We'll figure something out until we can find a reliable place. But once I'm in a better financial position, I was telling my husband about this, once we're both in a better financial position, I want the next step to be buying a place, having our own property, having our own land, our own house, because this shit is just, it's ridiculous. I want to have control. I want to be the one that has the say of when I choose to leave. I don't want a landlord or a property manager telling us when to leave our home that we've set roots in. But anyway, I think that's the end of my rant. Folks, just once again, I haven't been able to get much sleep. As I said, I've been functioning on 3 hours of sleep. I haven't slept much just thinking about this. And I'm stressed out. And I hope things work out. I hope we can find a new place, and I hope things work out. Things have to work out. But anyway, just to conclude, be wary of month-to-month lease agreements. They can be a blessing for some, but it's not a stable, reliable option if you're looking to live somewhere long-term. And it sucks that property managers do this. They don't even care. Anyway, I don't know what else to say. I'm gonna go. But I'm hoping things work out with the new place. Has this situation ever happened to you? Have you ever gotten kicked out of your apartment or your rental unit? I would love to hear your story. Comment below. I want to know at least that I'm not alone in this. That we're not alone in this. Alright, well, I've got to get ready to teach English classes because my first one's at 5 a.m. But anyway, I hope to have a more optimistic part 2 of this story. Welcome to my self-employment journey. Well, anyway, that's all I have to say. I hope you all have a great day.